One, two, one, two. All right, let's roll.
Welcome.
You're listening to the Saddle Up Podcast,
Where we discuss everything related to UTRGV athletics, past or present. We'll catch up with old teammates, friends, and take you down memory lane.
with exclusive interviews.
This is the Saddle Up Podcast.
The voice of your covered walkway streets. So dope.
This is gonna be awesome.
Stay tuned for new episodes every week.
From Bronx Village to the Fieldhouse,
We'll cover it all.
Hell yeah, dude. Carpe diem.
so saddle up and let's go.
Saddle up, partner.
Welcome to another episode of Saddle Up Podcast. I'm your host, Matt Palmquist. We got G Garza. Say what's up, G.
What's up, Matty P? What's up, everybody?
And this
Cannot
episode,
believe the guest we have. Go ahead.
this
Oh my
episode,
God.
I know this episode is creeping in to the episode like a ninja. Brian Molina, ladies and gentlemen. Brian Molina is joining us for the Saddle Up Podcast. Please welcome Brian. Welcome to the show, Brian. It's an honor to have you.
No, thanks for having me, guys. It's been a long time coming, man. I've been watching y'all's last couple of episodes, and it's good. I'm just happy to be here.
Appreciate the compliment, B.
Well, y'all were talking about this idea, and I'm like, well,
Yeah.
I know it's gonna take off. I know I'm not a royalty like some of these other guys, so I thought maybe episode 15 or 20.
We got your dad on before we got you, but you know, so
that's
Right,
the
and
there, so I'm
and
okay with
rightfully so.
Yeah, exactly.
He would be the first one to agree to that one.
that. Yeah, I agree with that 100%.
yeah. So
Awesome, man. Awesome.
No, but you know, but I hear I'm not the first McCown Memorial alum to be on this show, and that kind of.
Did it hurt? Did it hurt a little bit that we had
Yeah,
Lisa
yeah, of
on
course that hurt.
last week? It did.
I mean,
yeah.
she was a much better athlete than me. Yes, that's true. But you know, that's just ouch. I'm like, wow. But
Well,
yeah.
But Lisa's a Mustang through and through, so I'm cool with that.
oh yeah, Lisa's great. She's great. So
Well,
let us catch everyone up, right? So you graduated from Penn and we played together 96, right? That was your senior year.
95, 96,
My
96,
freshman
97.
year. Yeah, you were my roommate on the road. And so we're gonna get into a whole bunch of stories. I mean, we're gonna have to have you back because there's so many stories, but all three of us go back. You know, we were kind of the what was the name of our clique, Brian?
Oh,
our
the
group.
the Gulf Coast, man. How can you forget that? The Gulf Coast. You're an
yeah,
honorary member.
and Brian, you know, the story behind how that came about. You know, where did you get that? Where did we get the Gulf Coast from? Why did we have to be the South Texas Gulf Coast?
Okay, so this goes back to we're on the team and we're the outsiders, of course, the Valley Boys. So you have the East Coast guys, the guys from Chicago, all stuff like that. And then you have the West Coast guys, the guys from California. And of course, we're sitting there thinking like, what the heck are y'all talking about? They're like, oh, the guys from the East Coast, oh, I could listen to Tupac, but I can't buy his stuff, but I give him out of respect. And then vice versa, the other way with Biggie. And so we sit there and we're like, well, hold up. Where do we fall? We're in the middle, like we're in the coast. Where do we fall? And they're like, y'all are no coast, y'all are the Gulf Coast. And it just kind of stuck from there. And then G came up with a whole GC type deal stuff. And all of a sudden, hey, we were in the what were those called? The cubicles or the cubbies or whatever the heck we're doing at study hall over in the library.
Yeah.
We're sitting here putting GC on the freaking on the in the wood right there. We're carving.
No, we
stuff
weren't.
in.
No, we were not, Brian. I don't know what you're talking about.
No, that's right. That's right. That was back, but that was back in the UTPA days. That didn't. They're gone now.
I remember that. That was the fourth floor library. Remember where you would go up? There was no windows, and it was just like straight up, and it was cubicles, and that's where study hall was. And
yeah, now all of a sudden they got like state of the art stuff, and I'm like, what? Which is good. I'm glad our university, our alma mater is moving in the right direction. Which is great.
Yeah, shout out to Chase and his staff, Molly, everybody.
Yeah.
They're killing it right now.
No,
and they're getting.
I got to meet Greg the other night at the watch party, and man, he's a great guy, and he had nothing but great things to say. And I know we're all excited about the the renovations that are going on and the way everybody's kind of getting behind UTRGV and stuff like that. And I know great things are coming up, and I'm looking forward to getting out to more events, baseball, football. Definitely looking forward to football. So
you definitely have to join the varsity club. G and I are members of the varsity club, so
we are
definitely got to join. But
yeah, I do need to join that.
So
well, wait, are there tryouts for the varsity?
Yeah, you need to start running ASAP.
Yeah, Brian,
Yeah,
I
you need to
saw
start
on,
getting in shape.
Oh, I just played in the faculty game today. What are you talking about?
yeah,
Oh,
and I
you're
saw
fine-
that you
you're
played
fine,
in
man.
the. I saw that you were killing in that 60-year-old and over men's league tournament on Facebook.
They snuck me in. I was, actually, the funny story is, I think I was the youngest one in that. I mean, I was by far the oldest one in there with a bunch of younger guys, and I'm like, what am I doing? It's just,
Hey,
I know what
Brian,
my body wants to do, but I mean, I know what I want to do. My body doesn't do it anymore. So,
Brian, talking about what your body does and doesn't want to do and all that good stuff, of course, you can still shoot it. You've always been a shooter. You've always been known for that on the floor. And you had an opportunity to play at Pan American, obviously because you could really shoot it. Talk to us a little bit about, and of course, Coach Mo, your father, you had access to a gym and you probably utilized it and you took advantage of it.
Oh, of course.
At all times, right? But talk to us about how, that upbringing here in the Valley, man, how, what your dad meant to you, being a basketball coach, being involved, and because you played for him. And kind of talk to us about, what you were in middle school and high school and kind of that transition into, what you became as a college player.
No, obviously Dad started us early, and it was really by not by choice. I mean, it was always being around the gym. We still have stories. There's actually a picture out there of me, in those aluminum chairs while Dad's coaching. I'm underneath there. I'm like 4 or 5 years old, just sitting there watching and poking my head into.
I remember that picture. I definitely remember that picture.
Yeah, and huddle, and being in the huddles and stuff like that. I just kind of, the funny thing is my first love was t-ball, because back then that's the first sport you could play at an early age, and then all of a sudden now they have basketball for all ages. But back then they snuck me into the 6 and 8 year old division when I was 5, and that's all it took. I fell in love with the sport. I think Dad, in his wisdom, brought us up the right way. My sister and I I wasn't able to shoot outside the free throw line till I went into the 7th grade, because he didn't want me outside of my form, and he didn't understand. I was always frustrated, but he didn't want me sitting there. And then, God is great. The 3-point line came in my 7th grade year, which obviously I wouldn't have been playing in college basketball if there was no 3-point line. So, I was able to do that. I'm fortunate to play under some good coaches in middle school, and then up in the high school playing for Dad. It was tough. He was tough on me on the court, but the thing that I admire him the most is he was a great coach on the court, but he also knew how to draw that line and being a great father off the court.
That's fantastic. So I got a quick question. Who's the better shooter, you or Riz?
I'm gonna say me, but she'll say her. Yeah, I will say this. I haven't played horse in a million years probably, but this is an embarrassing thing. Up till about college or stuff like that, I'd only lost like one time in my whole life, and it was to my sister. So it was, of course, we played many games, but she beat me one time, and of course she still lets me know about that.
Oh, nothing to be embarrassed about. We love Riz. Riz is going to be a guest on the show.
And there's nothing to be embarrassed about, but we've known this story for a while.
We've known it for a while.
Told us.
We just
and
want to put it on record.
She did tell. She probably, I know, knowing her, she did tell you guys. Yeah. So no, it was that, and then obviously fell in love with a 3-point shot. We had a really good high school team, and actually I went to it was a BCI tournament. It's kind of like AAU now, I guess. Back in the day, and I was just fortunate. It only takes that one good game. And I was playing with the South Texas Riflemen back then, and with actually I wasn't even playing with Lalo. I was playing with Lalo's brother, and then Adrian Livas from Ed Calchelsa and Sapo and those guys. Man, those are some names. And so
shout out to Adrian Livas. Yeah. Man, I've seen Adrian play in pickup games, and I got stories about Adrian. He knows exactly what I'm talking about.
Adrian Adrian, he used to fill it up. And so we played in a tournament up in Houston, and we just happened to play against Ray Jackson's team from the Fab Five or whatever. And I knew who he was at the time, and I ended up hitting like 5 or 6 threes. And ever since then, the JUCO that I ended up going to, they were recruiting me since then. And that's where I went up to Kansas, played at a junior college there. But once I'm a Valley boy, and it took me leaving the Valley to realize I want to go home. So after my 2 years in junior college, it was a no-brainer. When coach said, hey, you have all these schools calling you, a lot of them were D2s and stuff like that. One of them actually, because I was an All-American in junior college, one of them was like, hey, we'll pay for your master's or anything like that. And I told them, no, I don't want to go nowhere. I want to go straight. I want to go back to the Valley. It was either the Valley or Kingsville. And I was just fortunate enough to come home and play here. So with you guys, which is great.
So and I'm glad you did. So let me ask you this before we get into some more in-depth questions. How big of an influence did Gabe Valdez have? Like, you were coming up as a high school kid, you saw Gabe, like, man, how Gabe big Valdez of, we've had Gabe on the show. So what kind of influence was that?
No, Gabe Valdez was a hero to us, to me, to Lalo and all you guys. I mean, we idolized that guy. I mean, that's, he's what you call a true success story here for Valley basketball players. He made us, because of the path that he took and the road that he took to becoming the player that he is, we wanted to emulate that. I know I did, watching him grow up back when it was Pan American and going to his games and stuff like that, and seeing a guy from the Valley basically play his way into the starting lineup, and then actually making an impact. I mean, it opened the eyes for me. Like, my dream was always to play college basketball, and for me to be able to see him do it only pushed me. And I know we had a great role model in Gabe. And even to this day, I have a lot of respect for him. I even, he's one of my mentors and one of the guys that I look up to, even as a coach.
Oh yeah, we all do. We all do, without a
stuff
doubt.
Like that. Yeah. So he paved the way. Guys like him, of course, Art Castillo, who played there also. I mean, both those guys were, the Wizard of Westlacos. I mean, both those guys, and stuff like that. And so, Paco Sierra, who was from Saltillo, we played against him. Obviously, when we played against his teams when we played in Mexico with you guys or whatever. And I mean, those guys kind of paved the way and made me realize that it is possible. It is possible.
Brian, I felt the same way, and I expressed that to Gabe. I think a lot of us did. And one of the things that we talked about with him is his love for Starlight Burger.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And he brought up like an old school place. It's still there.
Yep.
B, talk to us about Starlight Burger or any other place that you recall. You said you missed the Valley. There's a reason. There's a reason why you came back.
So where I lived and where Lalo lived, we lived across the street from Texas Pan American, down the road. I can't remember the name of the condos that we lived in. And so, but I had to walk. I would just walk to practice every day because it's right across the street. And so, but on the way back, I was always timing it, man, because I'd get to walk by Starlight Burger / man, the best chicken and the best burgers you ever want to taste. And I walk in, they already knew. Yeah, 2 burgers. I didn't even need fries. They had 2 burgers ready for me with cheese and ketchup only. Those things. I didn't ask for toasted buns. Those suckers were already toasted, flat as pancakes, but so dang good. The kind of burger that you eat and your hands are just full of grease. Okay. Man, those things.
So a couple of rules, Brian. We cannot endorse Starlight like that because they don't pay us sponsorship, right?
No, we can. We're fishing for a sponsorship. Hopefully, their ownership hears this.
Or at least throw in a burger and some chicken. Hey, while we're on the sponsor kick, shout out to Mr. Alberts. Back when I had hair, $5 haircuts.
No, I remember. Hold on. I remember Mr. Alberts. Lalo came to practice one day. He had just got a haircut that morning, and we were in the stretching line. And it looked like Mr. Albert. I don't know if Mr. Albert or Mr. Albert Jr. I don't know who cut out Lalo's hair, but it was a bowl. Yeah. And then they edged it up.
Bro, it was Matt. There were $5 haircuts. You couldn't beat it. Well, I mean, then again, who knows what they look
Oh
like?
my God. And it was one of those, it was one of the spaghetti bowls, the strainers where you put the noodles in. So there was hair sticking up out of the bowl, and then they would just cut it right there. That was the guard, right? They're just
Lalo, again, we apologize.
best waffles in
Yes.
town, Dalai Lama. Shout out to Dalai Lama.
Absolutely. So B, you get recruited, man. You go to junior college, you kill it. You get, you have an opportunity to come back home. Let's talk about your Pan Am days, man. Let's talk about when you came back. What did you miss the most about the Valley? There's guys that go out and play. They get an opportunity to play, and guys that I've recruited out of the Valley as well when I was coaching, and they always miss something about the Valley. So talk to us about, coming back, how you felt being back with your family, with Coach Mo and of course Mamo, your mother, and you all have to understand, we're such a tight knit family, and Brian's parents, during college were like a second family for us.
Oh yeah, of course.
in Edinburgh. So talk to us about that time, man. Like how, what, and we'll add, kind of like, what your favorite kind of time was, your favorite story, and all that stuff. Just kind of talk to us about coming back home.
Now, coming back home was big for me. Of course, I missed two things. I missed Whataburger and I missed Mexican food. I mean,
Amen.
that was easy. That was easy for me,
Yeah.
But just coming back, you guys, I'm sure you guys went through this too as basketball players. Having a close knit family and being able to look out in the stands through your whole, through your whole boys club days, middle school days, even high school days, and I'm looking up and I get to see my mom and my dad at every single function, and then I go off to Kansas for 2 years and I don't get to see them, and
Right.
It was a huge transition for me, and I think that was one of the biggest things why I wanted to come back, because Valley's family. I mean that it is what it is, and I think growing up watching Pan American basketball, I always wanted to be a part of that, and so coming home, I miss that. I miss the Valley people. I miss the Valley crowd. I miss, believe it or not, I miss the humidity, the hot, being hot all the time, because that's what we grew up in.
Yeah.
And it was just one of those things that once I was home, once I was away, I knew where home was, and I knew where I wanted to come. And I'm just blessed that basketball opened up a lot of doors for me, just like it did for you guys. And I'll say this till I'm blue in the face. I played for one of the best basketball coaches around up in junior college. I mean, this guy was Coach Mike Beard, and this guy was, we defended 94 feet, and we face guarded everything. And he told me when he was recruiting me, he said, "Look, I'm going to put you with 4 of the best athletes you'll ever see. All you need to do is catch and shoot." And he loved Valley boys as shooters. Before me was Carlo Cantu, a guy out of Mac High that could fill it up. And so I was blessed to go there. But coming home,
Brian, let me kind of interrupt you there for a little bit. When you were talking about home, and then you went back to your JUCO days, and just right now, you transitioned over to your JUCO days, because I think that meant a lot to you, obviously.
Yeah.
What would you say to those kids that are contemplating, that are thinking about, man, I'm being recruited. It means I'm going to have to leave the state, like I have to leave the state. I don't want to leave home. Home is comfort. Home is comfortable. Home is what I know. Yeah. What would you tell those kids, man? Because you did it, you did what a lot of kids don't want to do, is they have a great career in high school, and then all of a sudden now you have to leave the state. You leave the state to go play the game you love.
Well, let me interrupt with that's a great point, G. And we can, you don't have, let's talk about Evan, because Evan, my son, your godson, is he was a first team All-State in Texas in high school. He got recruited, and then he ended up in JUCO, had a great career in JUCO, or outstanding year, whatever. and now he just committed to Missouri Baptist. So exactly what G was talking about, a Texas kid, right, who has Valley roots, and now he's leaving the state. So what would you say to Evan about, hey, this is what you can expect leaving Texas and going to a different scene? Expand on that.
Right.
Yeah, it's a whole new world. I mean, there's a huge world out there. It really, really is. It's a different culture. I think because I left the Rio Grande Valley to go to a place like Kansas, it made me into the person that I am today. I needed to be away from my family for a little while. I needed to basically grow up, because here in the Valley, I mean, family is family and it's huge, but we're just fortunate. A lot of us are very fortunate to have a great supporting cast. I left my supporting cast. I had to learn how to be comfortable with being uncomfortable, if that makes any sense,
Absolutely.
And so I think it made me into the person that I am, but it also helped me find out the person that I want to be and where I want to grow up and the kind of future that I want to have. And so by me doing that, I think it propelled me to come back and be not only the player that I am, the coach that I am right now. I'm fortunate to be in this situation. I tell my basketball players all the time, the big dream is let's all go D1, let's all go do this. We all want the signing days and the all kinds of stuff like that. But it's hard to play at the D1 level. You guys know that. I think the best move I ever made coming out of high school was.
Well, I do. I don't know about G, but yeah.
I
know. Hey, experience. I can give you about a few minutes of experience.
G's got 13 points and five steals.
But we
career.
G, right? And you were a D1 player.
And he was a D1 player.
Yeah.
And one of my best friends.
Hey, and a lot of things that didn't come on the stat sheet. All right. A lot of things.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
I love you both. I absolutely love you both. But yes, and G knows that I make fun of him all the time, and he reciprocates it. So yeah, but I think
you got to consider the source.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, you got to consider the source, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Absolutely.
Yeah. No, but I tell any kid that wants to hear and that guys that want to go, that I think one of the best moves I ever made was going to junior college. I got to play right away.
Yeah.
A lot of these kids don't realize, well, I'm going to go to a 4-year school. What they don't see is that fine print that says, well, you're going to be playing on a JV team or a rec team. You're not even going to be playing because you're playing behind juniors and seniors.
Mm-hmm.
And it is what it is. You can't cheat experience. That's the same thing in high school. So my thing was, I'm gonna go to the junior college ranks, and where there's just freshmen and sophomores. I'm gonna get bigger. I'm gonna get stronger. I'm gonna play against college type athletes, and you're playing against there's a lot of kids, especially like I was in the Jayhawk conference over there in Kansas. I played against a bunch of guys that, well, they struggled in the classroom, but they were great basketball players, or they needed extra credits or doing stuff like that. I mean, they're big time players. And so the experience that I got there and confidence wise, being able to play with those great type players, it made my college years, fun. I didn't have to waste my freshman and sophomore year sitting on a bench behind a junior and senior and doing stuff like that. So I don't regret it at all. I actually really, really enjoyed it. I played at a really good school. I had a great head coach who gave us tough love a lot of times, and his wife was actually our advisor, our academic advisor, and our English teacher for the most part, because at a junior college, we didn't have that many people.
Oh, so you had the academic advisor was your English teacher, your science teacher, your math teacher, and your academic advisor. And the population for the JUCO, the school population was like 250. Like you
Matt,
killed it, Brian.
Matt, and the thing is, you're not kidding about that. Like I'm not. Yeah, you say 250, and I'm sitting here thinking, I don't even know if we had 250. But a funny junior college, I bet you guys might not even know this story. So I'm in junior college. We're at an assembly with all 200 kids there. It's the end of my freshman year. We're going into my sophomore year. We're having I guess they have like student body presidents. Yeah, one of the knucklehead teammates stands up and says, "Yeah, I nominate Brian Molina." Bro, I won that thing by a landslide. I was the president. I was the student body president at my JUCO my sophomore year. Don't ask me how. I don't even know what I did. I think I got to choose the menu every once in a while. I sat on some advisory committee. I don't even know. But yeah, so there's a little tidbit for you. But yeah,
Squirt, that's awesome,
you know,
B.
honestly, Matt, also getting back to Evan, I think him going the JUCO route and playing, I of course I just got to see video and stuff like that, but just seeing him get bigger, stronger. Of course, when he come down here and work out here at the gym, I mean, just I saw him evolve as a player.
Yeah.
And I think that's the best route that he's taken. I think he's going to thrive.
Oh,
there
he's
at the big school he is.
you know, on top of whatever he does professionally, or not professionally, but collegiately, the best thing that's happened to him, it's helped him grow as a human being, you know. And so
Right.
I'm proud of him as a son. But enough about Evan. Let's talk about your favorite memory at we say Pan Am. We say Pan Am, but we know it's UTRGV. It's university. We're non-discriminatory, but favorite memory at Pan Am.
Shoot, you know,
and keep it quick because we're running out of time. We got a lot to cover, right? So
Okay.
It's a family show.
yeah.
this is a family show.
Yeah. So
Okay.
favorite memory, like it can be off the court or on the court. We just got to keep it clean. But favorite memory.
Okay, well, my favorite my favorite on the court memory is easy. When we're in Jacksonville and I was John Knox or whatever the heck that guy was, and Coach Adams got so mad at us.
He wasn't there.
Team.
He
I was
wasn't there.
I was on the second team.
I wasn't there.
I was on the second team. Coach Adams got so mad at the first team because we were lighting their tail up in practice. Coach Adams said, "That's it. Second group, you're starting." And myself goes.
It's a podcast. It's a podcast. You can say ass. Ass.
You're fine.
Okay, so myself, I start counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Bro, I'm starting tomorrow and stuff. And I'm like, heck yeah. I mean, you're talking to a guy that I was the only senior, and we played in New Orleans the 2 days before that at home, my last senior ball game. And I'm thinking, oh man, Coach Adams gonna start me on my, it's senior night. Heck no, but I started the second half, but I didn't get I'm like, what is like this guy here? And so the next game, I'm like, I call home and I'm like, hey, guess what? I'm actually starting. And what's funny is a couple of my JUCO buddies, they hadn't seen me play yet. They ended up going to Jacksonville just to go watch us play. And I ended up starting like, man, you didn't tell us you were a starter. I'm like, oh yeah, I started all the time.
Brian, I was one of the last 5, so I started with you. I remember that game. Like I absolutely remember that game. But
man, that's definitely one of my favorite memories there. Definitely as a player. But honestly, we can go on and on about stories, but to me, it's the relationships. I mean, here's one right here. I mean, us two are sitting here talking. I was in both y'all's weddings. I mean, I baptized Matt's son. G's kids call me Uncle Brian. I mean, to me, those are the true memories that stick with me that I remember. We could tell basketball stories till we're blue in the face and stuff like that. But it's the relationships that I built in college. I also got to be a part of a Division I program and see what that's like. Obviously, you and I, we all know this. I mean, we lived out of suitcases a lot of time because we were not a big time D1, so we were always on the road. As Matt pointed out a couple of times, I think I made the NBA. The NBA draft. I did make that when Brian Skinner dunked on me.
Yeah, you did. Shout out to Brian Skinner. Brian was on 2 clips during the NBA draft when Brian Skinner got drafted.
Yes.
And we played against Baylor. And Brian got stuck on a rotation and Skinner just dunked all over him.
Yeah, Coach Adams thought it would be good to put a little 5'8" Hispanic guy / Chinese on a 7'1" guy at the bottom of a 1-3-1 zone. And I'm like, oh, that's a fly guarding an elephant. My dude just dunked it, but I got to come out in the NBA draft.
Yeah, so. Exactly. And you did. And if you're a coach, what are you telling your player in that situation? You should have taken a what?
Should have taken a charge.
Should have taken a charge.
Or you should have gotten out of the way. I mean, it wouldn't have mattered.
Or made a business decision and gotten out of the way.
Yeah.
How many fouls you got? How many? And this is coming from a guy that led the NCAA in fouls. How many fouls do you have? And the only reason why I led the NCAA in fouls is because of Lalo Rios, because he couldn't guard anybody.
Oh yeah,
I had to foul the guy that got past Lalo.
As a high school coach, I told
Lalo, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Again, Lalo.
Sorry
Shout
about
out
it.
to Dalai Lama. Best
Oh, yeah.
waffles in town.
Yeah. As a high school coach, I sit there and get mad at my kids all the time. My big men are in trouble because they're fouling guards. They're not guards. They're not fouling big men. We just can't can't stay in front of anybody. So no, but and playing against guys that are obviously we're in the NBA, those are always great stories to be able to tell your kids. And obviously I have a ring. I was a Division I player, and honestly, you guys were huge because unfortunately, when I was the only senior left for my senior year, and Coach Adams, left after we finished playing, or after I finished playing and stuff like that. So I was kind of left out in the dark, and you guys did a good job of still keeping me included with obviously with the new coach that came in and with Delray coming in and stuff like that, and Delray Brooks and his staff made me feel very welcome as well. So.
Well, we had to, because you had the apartment next to G and Mike, so it was like
that was true. Very true. And going into that, obviously, here's one coming out of college. You guys were still playing. I'm the only one that had a job and my own apartment and my own this.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys were always there. And I mean, those are just.
Shout out to Tom and Jerry's. Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah. I used to bartend at Tom and Jerry's, and you guys would go visit me all the time. And
Olive Garden.
Those are
Olive Garden. Olive Garden.
Yes,
I remember.
Right. I was.
Let me tell a story about Olive Garden.
Go for it.
G comes, and this is before, I think I saw him on campus, and he was like, it was like a Thursday or Friday, and G says, "Hey, are you hungry?" And this is like 4:00 in the afternoon, and this is before cell phones, mind you. And he says, "We're going to Olive Garden. Brian's working." I'm like, okay, cool. So it's a dinner date with me and G, and we're sitting at this 2-person table at Olive Garden. And I'm like, what are we ordering? Because I have no money. Our stipend checks haven't come in yet.
G and Mike never had money either. Shout out to Mike Mencias.
Yeah. Shout out to the Honey Nut Cheerios still sitting on the refrigerator there at that apartment, right? But G is like, don't order anything. Don't order anything. Just get the breadsticks and the water and order the soup.
Well,
Hey,
Olive Garden was expensive, man. That was a top tier 5 or whatever.
Yeah,
whatever the highest rating restaurant that you can imagine. That's what we thought Olive Garden was.
Olive Garden was the best.
And those were great days also, because G and Mike they live right next door to me, and they'd be looking out the freaking blinds, and they could see when I'm coming, because on the nights that I had to close, I was a closing host. The nights I had to close, the guys in the back of the kitchen, they weren't going to throw away stuff. So I'm bringing home pans of lasagna, pans of chicken parmesan, and these guys are like, "Hey, yo, B, what's up?" I'm like, "I got food. Here we go." And man, these guys they hadn't eaten for days. I mean,
hey, you know what? This is shout out to everybody that didn't have an NIL deal, because this was the day pre-NIL. Imagine if we had NIL deals, we would have had Bonanza.
Yes. We have Bonanza, and then we have
Olive Garden,
Bonanza, Golden Corral tickets, Bonanza,
Pizza Hut.
Pizza Hut. After the game, everybody got a large pizza. Don't take Raheem's cheese pizza though. We heard about it. You know what happens there.
Shout out to Raheem Muhammad. He needs to be on this show.
Oh, he's going to be on the show, and I have a story about Raheem Muhammad. But shout out.
When does that episode come out? I can't wait to hear that show.
It's coming.
I love that.
But shout out to Papaya's Chicken.
Oh, yes. Yep,
and
Papaya.
Lupe.
Oh, Lupe.
I remember that story. And Lupe picked us up. Rest in peace, Lupe. Lupe was the best, but Lupe picked us up in a bus one time, and he was like, I think it was Shannon Howard asked us, "Hey, can we stop?" It was over the Christmas holiday.
Yeah.
And he was
just picked us up at the airport.
Yeah. He picked us up at the airport in the charter bus, the old school charter bus, and was like, "Hey," Shannon asked him, "Can you stop by and get us some food before we go to the dorms?" Right? Because a lot of us didn't have cars. And Lupe, God rest his soul, was like, "Where do you want to go?" and Shannon was like, Popeyes, chicken. And Lupe with the heavy accent was like, papayas. We'll go to papayas. And it's Popeyes. But it's an amazing story.
So what's funny, we were laughing at that. And then you talk to Leo Salcedo, shout out to Leo. Leo played too. And if you ask him how to say Popeyes, he says it the same way, papayas. I'm like, what the freak is papayas? So now every time we go, I go by, I call it that all the time. And then it brings up memories and stories.
I live in California and there's no fast food whatsoever, and there's In-N-Out. So I don't know what papayas is, but wrapping up the show, let's talk about congratulations on becoming or being named Coach of the Year, right? Mm-hmm. You killed it. You've always put out a fantastic program. What's next for Brian Molina?
It's hard because I'm in such a rewarding profession. God was good to me. He opened doors for me through basketball, and now I think this is my way of kind of paying it back. I'm not the richest man in the world, obviously, but
you do own a house on the golf course.
I do own a house on the golf course, a condo on the golf course. But I'm blessed to be in the school district that I'm at. They gave me my shot. Coach Helms did by 17 years ago, gave me my shot to be a head coach here at Harlingen South. Of course, I've had some great mentors in my father and the late Roy Swift. God bless his soul. I think, and he's a Pan American player. I mean, he's, and honestly, if we really want to go back, I was a middle school coach for my very first year coming out of college. And Coach Roy Swift is the one that he went and he sought me out. And it was simple because I was a UTPA alum. Yeah. And I was a coach. And that's the only reason. I didn't really know Roy Swift. I just knew him as watching him play basketball.
Watching him play. Yeah.
Back in the day. And so he reached out to me, brought me on to be one of his assistants. And I was one of his assistants for 7 years. And when he parted ways with Wesco, that's when I took the Harlingen South job, and Coach Holmes gave me a shot here. And I've been here ever since. I have great kids. I'm very, very blessed. I have great administration, and I'm not just saying that. I know a lot of people just say that, but Harlingen is great. I mean, they're from the superintendent to my principal to my athletic coordinator. I mean, they really get behind me, and I'm having to take on another role, Matt and G, because I'm now the old cat. When I got here, I was the new cat. I was the youngest. I was by far the youngest head coach here. I was 30 years old. And so now all of a sudden I'm like, well, I think I'm the last head coach that was 17 years now. Now it's all new people and younger people and coming in and doing stuff like that. And it's a trip to hear them talk about, man, we've been watching you. We want our programs to be like your programs. So I'm like, whoa, hold up. I still feel young. I'm still a young guy. You know what I mean?
You are young.
Yeah.
You definitely are young.
And so hearing all that and doing stuff like that, it makes me feel good. But obviously, I'm a big proponent of loyalty, and Harlingen has been good to me. I mean, of course, McAllen Memorials is where my dad coached, and that job came up.
And where your jersey hangs. Yeah. Let's not forget that. Like your jersey hangs in McAllen Memorial.
Yeah. And so, those are all things that the job came open a couple of years ago. People called me, people talked to me about it. But I prayed about it a lot, and I was very transparent with everybody here because rumors were flying around, and I think they have a great head coach in Rick Trevino. Obviously, he's a Roy Swift. He's a Roy Swift
disciple
guy. Yeah, exactly. Just like I am. So they're in great hands over there. He's had great seasons over there. But even he had called me and asked, he said, are you applying for that job? I'm like, no, I'm very happy at Harlingen South. I love where I'm at. And God willing, I'm going to retire here. Well, but as far as to answer your question, what's next for Brian Molina? I think I still have, my godfather was an athletic director, and he gave me some really good advice. He said, don't leave coaching too early to where you're going to miss it and want to go back. Now, coaches are always going to want to coach, obviously, but it's in our blood. But I think with me, I still want I still have a couple more goals that I want to achieve as a coach. It might take me about 4 or 5 more years, but God willing, I'll move into an administrative type position after that. My dream is to be an athletic director someday.
Okay.
So I've been kind of putting stuff together. We have a great athletic director right now, in Rob Davies, and Coach Creeders was there before him, and Chipper Samoa was the one that hired me. And so I've learned things from them, and I'd like to be a part of all programs, all sports, and do stuff like that, and do that for about 4 or 5 years, and then, God willing, retire and just kind of enjoy life while I'm still young enough to enjoy
Just
it.
drive the golf cart out of your backyard onto the golf course. I get it. I mean, who wouldn't want that, right? So
Right. Yeah,
know?
so God willing, that does work out for me. I hope so.
It will.
I hope I'm good enough to be one of the success stories in the Valley, and guys like Gabe that paved the way for me. Maybe I have a young kid that's a young coach that's coming up, and
let's get to the real meat of that answer, right? Like I'm gonna treat it like, I don't know, Barbara Walters, right? You gave that answer. It was great. It was political. How many wins does your dad have?
Oh gosh, my dad's.
I know you know the number.
I mean, he's over 5. He was 500. I don't know how many years ago. So he's probably over 600 something. Maybe.
Is that what you're trying to get to?
No, honestly, I'll. My goal is to be at 500.
Okay.
That's where I want to be.
Where are you at right now?
I'm at 400. I reached my 400th win earlier this year.
So you got about 30 more seasons.
And I'm blessed. Like I said, in 17 years, I hit 400 wins, which is about, it's over 20 wins a season, which, I mean, you've been a coach before. It's hard to do. It's hard to win 20 ball games in one season.
Yeah, that's why G is no longer in coaching.
That's why I'm doing this podcast with Matty P. Yeah, definitely. I couldn't string together.
Both y'all make 2 or 3 times what I make. So
no, G is an amazing human being, and I give him crap, and he's the co-host of the show, and he gives me crap. So G's an amazing coach.
Good. And all you guys listen to the podcast, you put all of us together with Lalo and all those guys, and
COVID years. Remember the COVID year when we would do the Zoom calls?
And Rob and Bert, and I mean, you know what? We should have made a show out of that. That would have been hilarious.
Is exactly what we're doing, Brian.
No.
That would have been
about the COVID years. The COVID
Yeah.
years, when we all have. I mean, we're on a podcast, right? We can tell them that we have themes. Like one of them was cowboy, and of course G shows up with nothing but a guitar in his hands.
That's right, and that'll happen on the paid subscriction podcast.
On the paid subscription of this podcast.
Yeah,
we're all high.
No, hey, but here's the thing with that. So we all decide that, hey, you know what, we're gonna have a TikTok contest. Y'all remember that, right? That was one of the themes we're gonna do, the TikTok or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know. I will say this: my boy Mike called and asked me how to do a TikTok. I had to call my goddaughter. I'm like, Miranda, how do I do a TikTok? And she's like, Nino, what are you talking about? I'm like, a TikTok? I don't know how to do a TikTok. So they had to, of course, I was like, oh yeah, I'll do a TikTok, no problem. I'm like, how the heck am I supposed to do a TikTok? I don't know.
That's amazing.
What the heck that was. That was good times, man. It was.
Well,
Brian, you're not that old. You're still young, man. You're one of the rising I would say you're one of the rising coach. I know we got some young coaches, but you're still young. You're a rising coach. You've had some great kids. You have a great winning program. What you do on the floor and what you do outside for those kids should speak thousands more, magnified more than just a record. I know we talk about the wins, but you have a win every day with the way that you are able to motivate and inspire the kids that have come through your program, and not, you call those kids 5 years later and they're still talking about, the impact that you made on them. And the rewards that we get as coaches is the reason why we do it. It's definitely not the money. It's definitely not the, the
definitely not the haircut.
It's definitely not the haircut. And it's Mr. Albert made us who we are today.
Yeah, that's true. That's true with haircuts.
But
I never went to Mr. Albert.
You did a good job, Matt.
You did.
Brian
You
did.
did. You definitely, yeah. You
Look
definitely
at my
stayed
results.
away for the right reason. That's right. That's what happened. But
No,
Brian,
believe it or
I
not,
mean,
in college I had hair. You all remember
you
that.
did. You did. Hey, and let me tell you this. What we're gonna do is we're gonna post a nice little picture of Brian with hair on social media.
Yes, we are.
So make sure you check out our Instagram and Facebook. We'll post a nice little pic.
I know
with,
G's
Coach
got
Mo
a couple pictures.
over there.
We've got
No,
we got
do.
pictures in the
Absolutely.
group chat of Brian with hair. It's amazing.
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh.
But
Man.
Brian,
Well-
man, thank you for everything you've done, man, for the community, for the Valley. You know, you're on your way to the Hall of Fame. That's just the way. You know, I know you want to be an AD, but on that route, you know, you've put in the work, and you're going to be a Hall of Fame coach here in the Rio Grande Valley. And you were that person. What Gabe was to you, and Art Castillo was to you. You know, you were that to these kids growing up and wanting to become basketball players, and you still are doing it. You're still doing it every single day. You get to be in front of those kids, man. So kudos to you. You're doing God's work, man. You're getting jewels in your crown, and thank you for being our friend, for being our brother, and being on the show, man. We really appreciate it.
Oh man, thank you for having me, man. I get a kick out of listening to, obviously I got to hear the first couple of them already, and they've turned out great, and of course, you know, secretly I'm like, man, I'm hoping my boys ask me to be on this podcast. Surely they are.
No, we're glad to have you. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you next week.